Shalom. All praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Harakah Kodash. Double honors unto the elder apostles of Great Millstone who rule well. And Shalom to the hopeful elect. This is Paya Allah. This is news and prophecy news update. The date today is the 2nd of October 2025. The hopeful year of um, destruction, deliverance, and judgment. All right. Um, this one's a little long overdue. I did mention it at the camp, but this is to do with the news of digital IDs being implemented, and this is something that I've spoke on a little while back as well, and how you had since Blair's reign as Prime Minister over here in the United Kingdom, this is something that he's been chipping away at and bringing to the forefront, and lo and behold, it's finally here in a Labour government. For those on the other side of the pond, Labour is likened onto the Democrats. So, it's in line with that, the left in terms of its progressiveness. All right. But the right also is progressive, but they like to root their progressiveness in um, conservative views. Now, so that just shows that they're one and the same. As it tells you in Revelation 13, beast had two horns and spake like a dragon. All right. They're part of the same animal, but just one's left leaning and one's right leaning. But they can lean to whichever side they want. But if they lean inwards, they're from the same place. So yeah, this is something that's been caused a lot of hoopla over here. And funny enough, you know what? I didn't put this on here. Decade of change. I'm gonna show that in a second. Actually, I'm here, so I might as well go into it. So now this is something that came up, and this is, well, going back on the point. Um, this is something that in line with this being presented. This is part going back to the point of Tony Blair. This is something that's been, he's been chipping away at for a while, and it brought to the forefront going back as far as 2020, right? Because 2020 is like a fork in the road, as you will, whereby it marked a great change, a pivotal change, starting with a pandemic and a totalitarian style takeover of the people by making them, go inside their houses and different things that are in line with martial one, not so much martial law, but draconic, type of rulership whereby you can't do certain things, and there's a process that you had to go through to be able to be unleashed into the wild again. So with that being said, there was something that come through from the WEF, which is the World Economic Forum, all right, which was known as a decade of change, all right, which we are in. And that's something you need to bear in mind as I read through this article, because everything that's been said in this is in line with that, all right, and in line with the agenda. You have different places, and I believe they mentioned in the article. I read a bit of it, but not all of it. But we know I did do a video on it recently, a little while ago, with Mexico, where they basically have come through where they said that there's going to be mandatory uh, identification over in Mexico. So this is something that's being mandated the world over because it's a new world order. All right, it's in line with this agenda I'm about to delve into. Now, I've typed in decade of change, as you can see, and what pops up is decade of change can be a key word, because that shows you that this is to mask a greater agenda. All right. So as a decade of change can refer to London Gatwick's airport sustainability strategy to achieve its environmental goals by 2030. Funny enough, this is actually in line with the greater agenda, but this is why this being presented really is to throw you off their scent. Okay. So it says, or Evermade's collection of artist prints on themes of societal and environmental change. It also describes a concept of a significant 10-year period or transformation or a photography award on the climate crisis, highlighting that the term is used in different contexts for various initiatives and concepts. And this goes into what we know when you deal with the main one I'll go deal with is 1984, George Orwell's 1984, where you have Newspeak, where they mask over former words with Newspeak. All right, so this has been done in a matter of years, because there's a lot of things in history. If you're old enough to remember, you have someone as a reference point of the prior generations. They can inform you of certain things that was happening in their time period that you may not be hip to or privy to in this time. All right, whereby it the change that people feel like has happened, or they're no, not sorry, the change people don't realize has happened. They wouldn't know because they haven't seen it any other way. A good example for me, living in London, the way they talk about London, oh, knife crime, oh, this, oh, it's so bad, it's terrible, everyone's stealing watches. Yes, there's crime going on, but trust me, I know to anyone that's not from London, like you may just think, oh, tea and crumpets, because there's a way it's been perpetuated. They did great, spectacular, impeccable marketing to the world to make it look like, the roads are paved with gold. As you would know, as I'm sure in most Western countries, anywhere you are, they make it look a certain way. But if you get there and you get to see the underbelly or the true place that it is, you realize all that glitters is not gold. It's fool's gold. All right. So, they talk about how terrible London was worse before. It was bad before. All right. It was the way it was before. It was a lot worse. If you think it's bad now, it wasn't. This is light work. There's been many programs have been implemented in terms of gentrification, gradual, which is a form of gradualism, basically, whereby you had things like the Olympics come to London. Everyone was over there in Stratford, and if you knew what Stratford was like before, it wasn't a nice place. It's different places, even though things have happened like Wood Green a couple years ago, a boy got shot in the head, you know. So there's certain things that still happens there, but the way I remember it is it wasn't as like certain areas that you can go now, you can't go there no more. All right, and these are things that have been implemented through time. All right, gradualism, which only has is being done with a goal in mind to bring forth this new world order, that CHIP, that MOTB. All right, so um, now if you really look into, now we're gonna build upon this. There it was. So now the real decade of change. All right, so this is decade of change with World Economic Forum. All right, WF. So it says the World Economic Forum WEF discusses various themes for the next decade. All right, this was published in 2020. All right, so this is at the turn of the decade, particularly the urgent need for global cooperation. All right, it's why we're seeing it happen in Mexico and various different nations, and collective action. And you had Trump just come out now that he spoke about having a world force, a world police, basically. All right, Lord willing, I'll get into that as well at some point after this, and collective action to address escalating climate change, geo, uh, geopolitical instability, so world politics, to stabilize world politics, and economic uncertainty. So they're going to come around with some form of world economy. The decade of change at WEF refers to a period where business and stakeholders are pushed to drive innovation, all right? Innovation, innovate new ideas, implement sustainable practices, and develop new resilience. All right. So they might say even a digital ID is a way of being moving away from paper and being more sustainable. and develop new resilience strategies to navigate these systemic risks, especially those related to environmental and technological shifts. All right. So I want to harp on, go to this point where it says technological transformation. Powerful new technologies, including AI, blockchain, and the Internet of Things, all right, are rapidly changing traditional systems and institutions. However, these innovations can also create significant uh, ex- externalities, highlighting the need for accountability. All right. So basically, they need to figure out a way to more work everything in a more ubiquitous uh, way. All right, to avoid any form of um. Let me look up this word externalities. Externality, a consequence of an industrial or commercial activity which affects parties. So basically, that change is going to cause, these different technologies coming about is going to cause a shift in the way your life is lived. So they need to be accountable and think of, and this is what I'm extrapolating from it. Think of a new way to manage these things, right? And these things they mention, AI, which falls in line with Palantir, basically the minority report type situation whereby all your stuff is like you're being monitored, all right? Your social credit score, things like that. The blockchain forms as a system or the foundation for the economic system, and the Internet of Things is going to lead into the Internet of Persons, whereby they're going to move from things like phones, your microwave, your meter, different things that are just part and parcel of the world, moving towards a ubiquitous technology in the form of the Internet of Persons, moving towards which is basically just going from, like I said, your iPhone, your iWatch, your electronic meter, um, anything with an app, moving towards transhumanism, whereby they talk about biohacking and what they say is a danger with AI, whereby in order for you to be at one, not to get ousted out, like deleted by the evolution and the takeover of AI, you have to biohack and become one with AI. All right, are rapidly changing traditional systems. So that's it. That's the point. So yeah, these are certain things. So let's get into this article. All right, so this is from the bbc.co.uk, and then the headline reads, "What is the plan for the digital IDs, and will they be mandatory?" All right. So it says the government has announced plans to introduce a digital ID system across the UK, with Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer saying it will ensure the country's borders are more secure. The IDs will not have to be carried day to day, but they will be compulsory for anyone wanting to work. So this has gone from an issue dealing with immigration, all right, mass asylum seekers and immigration, to a problem now that everyone has inherited if they want to work. All right. This really just shows you by design this problem's been created, and this problem was implemented going back to 2020. All right. Let me see if I can pull this up. Asylum, as, asylum, hotels, asylum hotels deal. See if I can find this. Because there's one individual that made a killing. See, this is something that come into play in 2020. All right. So let's read this. I'll read this quickly. It's from NAO National Audit Office.org.uk. All right, this is the information a lot of people are not hip to as to why these things have happened. This is a controlled demolition. This is by design. All right. So it says asylum, accommodation, and support. All right. So this is going back to the 3rd of July 2020. Background to the report. The Home Office provides accommodation and support for asylum seekers and their families while their cases are processed. Under the UK government's international obligation to support asylum seekers who would otherwise be destitute, the number of accommodated asylum seekers has more than doubled since 2012 to around 48,000 in March 2020, but has been relatively stable since the beginning of 2019. All right. So it's ballooned. From 2012 to September 2019, the department provided these services through 6 regional contracts known as Compass. In 2019, the department replaced Compass with 7 similar regional contracts for accommodation and transport. The accommodation contracts plus a national contract for a new helpline support service, air advice, issue reporting, and eligibility. The department awarded the accommodation contracts to 3 providers. All right. So it says Clare Springs Ready Homes, Mears Group, and Circle. I think Circle was the one that one of these guys made a killing. All right. But if it's been split by the 3 of them, um, there you go. That's the guy I was looking for. Finally found it. So I'll read this quickly. So this is he's not even Circle, but this is the guy I saw. So I said, who is the billionaire owner of Asylum Hotel? Graham King, founder of Clare Springs Ready Homes, became a billionaire after his company's profits soared from providing accommodation, food, and transport for asylum seekers under a large home office contract. Known as the Asylum King, his fortune reached over £1 billion, placing him 154th on the 2025 Sunday Times Rich List. Clare Springs contract house asylum seekers worth 7.3 billion as of May 2025. All right, yep. He came up because his dad came up with caravans, and then he pivoted into that business, and that's how he made his million. I'm sure I probably have an article, a tab open somewhere with him because I was looking at it before, but yeah, I didn't manage to get to it. Let me quickly check. So it's been around since 2012. Uh, Oops. Let's get back to. Alright, man. So, let's go back. So, yeah, let's go back to. Let me just. I was reading this report. So it says, the department awarded the accommodation contracts to 3 providers: Clare Spring Ready Homes, Mayor's Group, and Circle, who each took on 2 or 3 UK regions. Migrant Help won the air contract following a transition period from Compass. The new contracts became fully operational from September 2019, as the department had planned. The new contracts have a total estimated value of 4.044 billion over 10 years from 2019 to 2029. See, in line with the decade of change. All right, even though it's a year early, these plans have been in line for years, decades. They before they implement these things, they've been planned. All right. We're seeing something that's been years in the making. All right. So let's go back to this article. All right. So it says the government says the scheme will be rolled out by the end of the parliament, meaning before the new general election, the next election, which by law must be held no later than August 2029. Look at that. Decade of change, it's all in line. All right. So we're midway through this decade, just after midway. All right. The last 5 years, so to say. And this is something that's going to be implemented in 2029. Now, them telling you now is more or less, preparing you for impact. And people may be prepared to circumvent it some ways, but as we know, we're dealing with a gradual change. All right, moving to that MOTB system. So certain things that you may have available now, they may not be available in 4 years, and by design, they won't be available in 4 years. Or if they are, it's going to make it extremely difficult for you to operate outside the confines of the system. Why is the government introducing digital IDs? The digital IDs will be used to provide a person's right to live or work in the UK. They will take the form of an app-based system stored on smartphones in a similar way, to, excuse me, to the NHS app or the digital bank cards. And we remember what the NHS app was doing before, during the time of COVID. Information on the holder's residency status, name, date of birth, nationality, and a photo will be included. Announcing the scheme, Sir Keir said, "You will not be able to work in the United Kingdom if you do not have if you do not have digital ID. It's as simple as that." The government says the scheme is designed to curb illegal immigration by making it harder for people without status to find jobs. All right. Ministers argue this is one of the key pull factors for migrants enter the UK illegally. All right. Employers will no longer be able to rely on the national insurance number, which is currently used as part of proof of right to work or paper-based checks. And this is the funny thing about it because how does the saying go? Bite your nose to spite your face or something like that. Let me look it up. To cut off your nose to spite your face is an idiom describing a self-destructive act done to harm someone else, resulting in greater harm to oneself than the intended target. And this is basically what is happening with this, right? By design, the people and this is they knew what group of people to target. By design, they've rallied up a certain people that they don't realize that they've they dug their own grave, all right? They've sown their own demise, all right? You think that you're doing something that's going to aid you, but now you've implicated yourself in that change, all right? And it's going to create you being a greater slave. The government says the scheme is designed to read that already. Employers will no longer be able to rely on a national insurance number, which is currently used as part of proof of right to work or paper-based checks. And funny enough, look, this issue, something that's come up out of this with the migrant hotels, uh, is they even said, what did they say? They said they're gonna close it down in 2026 anyway. All right, so this is something that's it's temporary. It isn't. Yeah, see, it says asylum hotels could be closed by 2016. Refugee council analysis. So that's a possibility. So it means that the contract fluctuation and those certain people gaining all that money was, a power play. And it's funny because, one of my vices, man, that I try and avoid is bloody watching TV series. If I watch the last one I watched that fucked me up, I watched Lost. I was watching like 8 episodes a day because I was like, I need to finish this, man. I want to finish this. But recently, I wind up watching the last season of Breaking Bad because I've been meaning to watch that since bloody hell, since I come. Remember, it's like when I come into the truth, more or less, because there was a writer's strike, and then by the time it came out, I wasn't interested in watching it, and it always was something that I said to myself, I've got to finish watching. So I had a bit of free time, and then I wind up watching it, and then what it led to was it bloody snowballed into me watching the spin-off series of Better Call Saul. Now, the reason why I'm mentioning this is because drug dealers, all right, and when I'm talking about traffickers, people that create the transport systems for drugs to be funneled into the country and set up those corporation style drug empires, show you what power really looks like Gustavo Fring, sorry, in that TV show really shows you, a mind. And I'm not saying he's a wise man or nothing like that, but a mind geared towards power. All right, how he's prepared to lose millions of dollars or give up workers, valuable enforcers, whatever have you, for a greater plan in mind. And it really shows you power is a total different thing from money, because there's never a mention of, you know when I watched when I was watching it, because I've more or less just finished it now. uh there never was a, oh, that's too much money. Like, is there a way we can, unless it makes sense, all right? Unless you're getting hard done by. But the plays they always make is just for a goal in mind of establishing greater power and control over their situation. And you really understand that power, like, it really made me understand that once you have money, money doesn't mean nothing no more. It's about the power, the control, the ability to say go and come. All right. So all these things that are being done, someone may look at it and say, but why would they do that? Why, that doesn't make sense. They're losing a lot. That's not, they don't care about that. They want the power. And mind you, when we really break it down to the scriptures, this is an age-old battle of good versus evil. All right. Us, the so-called Negroes, Puerto Ricans, Mexicans, so-called American Indians that pertain to the Americas. All right, we are the Israelites. All right, pertaining to the Bible, we are Jacob. All right, Israel and Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, basically is in control right now. And according to the prophecy in the book of Genesis 27, in order for him to maintain power, he has to keep us under his foot. So this is what's going on, all right? And people don't understand that. That's what is playing out before your eyes. And this is why these things are being done, all right? It's in order for him to maintain his power, all right? So I kind of went on a tangent, but I'm trying to remember where I was and why I said that information. Let's see. Damn, why was I saying that? Basically, I believe it was due to the contract, because these contracts being taken away now is because you know them getting their agenda in play is all they're prepared to let that money go, destroy the country, do certain things for the sake of a greater goal in mind. All right, problem, reaction, solution. Okay, so it says they will take the form of an da, 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 da. Where am I at? The government says the scheme is designed to curb illegal immigration. I've read that. Employers will no longer be able to rely on a national insurance number, which is basically a social security for you guys over across the pond, which is currently used as part of proof of the right to work, or paper-based checks. At the moment, it is quite easy to borrow, steal, or use someone else's national insurance number, and that is part of the problem in the shadow economy. People sharing national insurance numbers, for example. The idea is that having a picture attached would make it, in theory, harder to abuse that system. So in theory, so if their theory is incorrect, guess what? Problem, reaction, solution. It designs it becomes a bigger beast, all right, whereby they can have more tentacles and more claws inside of you, all right. Harder to abuse that system. However, conservative leader Kimi Badenoch said that while there are there are arguments for and against digital ID, making it mandatory requires a proper national debate. In a post on X, she said, can we really trust Labour to implement an expensive national program that will impact all of our lives and put additional burdens on law abiding people? I doubt it. Liberal Democrat Shadow Attorney General Ben Maguire told the BBC the party was struggling to see how the policy would have a meaningful impact on illegal migration, which is true. Because if the main problem was to deal with the hotels and migrants being out of control and fondling, young women and things like that, the issue then is that there needs to be, the asylum seeking process needs to be refined, right? There needs to be certain things. But the ramifications of someone not working, someone not having um papers and working, I mean that's a whole different type of situation. Because remember as well, the rhetoric that's behind people being upset about my illegal immigrants is that they're either coming over and taking all the jobs, or they're coming over and they're scrounging off benefits. Now, if they're taking all the jobs, I mean, there's someone within that job infrastructure that needs to be seen to. But then if they're scrounging off of benefits, then how is that part like there's something wrong with the system? But obviously they're saying by this means it'll be um they'll be able to sort it out. All right. But let's see. All right, let's see what they got in mind. All right. So it says liberal Democrats shadow attorney, I read that actually. Will digital ID be compulsory? And what else could it be used for? Digital ID will be available to all UK citizens and legal residents and mandatory in order to work. However, for students, pensioners, and others not seeking work, okay, just scared for a moment. However, for students, pensioners, and others not seeking work, having a digital ID will be optional. Officers also stress it will not function, officials say, like a traditional identity card. People will not be required to carry it in public. Ministers will have ruled out requiring the ID for access to healthcare and welfare payments. So this isn't a ubiquitous form of technology, but we know that that's where it's leading to. So you have to be mindful of that. Something can happen, an event whereby this could even get scrapped and just move straight to the sea hit. Right, that's not off the table. All right, anything can happen between now and the so-called date, due date of August 2029. All right, these are ideas being put forth, but who knows what can happen between now and then. The government said that in time, the digital IDs will make it easier to apply for services such as driving licenses, childcare, and welfare. It said it would be also simplify access to tax records. The government said that it could be used to streamline verification processes across private sectors. For example, when opening a bank account. While people who don't have a smartphone need a digital ID, will people who don't have a smartphone need a digital ID card? The government has promised the system will be inclusive and work for those without smartphones, passports, and reliable internet access. So, you have people that are trying to circumvent it by, getting a old phone. So, but that's it doesn't matter, all right, from what's being said. As we know, this is something that's all, you know, it's going to be for everyone. So this is from ladbible.com. It says Brits are planning to use cheap loophole to avoid needing digital ID Brit card. All right. So it says duh, 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 duh. So, what loophole have people found? A quick scroll on social media reveals that many have already decided on a way to throw officials off if they are asked to show their ID Nokias. It's true, people think that getting themselves a classic Nokia brick phone, which doesn't support the app required to show the Brit Card, will get them out of needing one. All right, so that's how people are looking to do it. All right. Uh, However, the prospect of physical cars may yet be a possibility for those without the technology needed. As another user pointed out, this is why I opted for the old school flip phone instead of a smartphone. Can't put apps on it, therefore no tracking apps, no digital ID. All right. So yeah. So you're still gonna need it regardless. People are misinformed with that in mind. Right. So let's read on. So it says, public consultation expected to be launched later this year will include looking at alternatives, potentially including physical documents or face-to-face support for groups such as older people or the homeless. Which other countries already have ID cards? The UK government has said it will take the best aspects of the digital ID systems used elsewhere around the world, including Estonia, Australia, Denmark, and India. They've also got them in Nigeria, um, yeah, Nigeria is the only place. It said it's sixth place. Estonia, Australia, Denmark, Sweden, India, and Nigeria, I believe, are the sixth. I was looking it up earlier on. Each of these countries has its own unique system, but all use it as a way for people to prove that they are who they are when accessing certain government or banking services. Estonia introduced its mandatory digital ID system in 2002, and people use it to access medical records, voting, banking, and digital signatures. It's primarily stored on people's smartphones as a digital version of an ID card. Australia and Denmark have digital ID apps that people can download and use to log into government and private services. Neither require citizens to have it. India has a system through which people can obtain a unique 12-digit reference number to use as proof of residency and identity. Uh, Many other countries also use digital ID of one kind or another, including Singapore, Greece, France, Bosnia, and Herzegovina, the United Arab Emirates, China, Costa Rica, South Korea, and Afghanistan. All right. Um, so yeah, they've tried to introduce it before. So yeah, that's more or less the article. But we know what this is ramping up for. All right. All roads lead to the chip. And I mean, I'm just going to read the scripture. You know where it is. Revelations. Actually, I'll more go to this as a word of caution. So you can see by design, this is, like I said, you're going to need this if you want to earn a living. So it's lining up, like for like, as far as no man can buy or sell, save he that have the mark, you know. So this is Revelation 14 and 9. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast or its image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of the Most High, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb, and the smoke of their torment ascendeth up for ever and ever. And they have no rest day nor night who worship the beast and his image. Funny enough, because as the Lord said, they that seek to save their life shall lose it, and they that lose their life uh, shall save it. So basically, if you buy into this system, you're gonna wind up marking yourself for death. But if you buy out of this system and buy into that of Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Harakah Kodash, basically you're gonna save your soul. Verse 11, and the smoke of their torment ascendeth up for ever and ever, and they have no rest day nor night, who worship the beast and his image, and whosoever receiveth the mark of his name. So yeah, with that, man, that's a lesson. No, this is part of their plan, a major part of their plan being presented before the masses of people in, the not in the mouth of the beast, but in the head of the beast, the mother of the harlot, the well favored harlot, America, which means a lot, man. It shows you that, you know, this is something that's gonna move forward, and we're getting very, very close to what's gonna happen. So with that, I pray you're edified to the next one. Shalom.